Back with you live here on News at Prime. Thanks for staying on. Let's turn to this story now. 2 mass murders have been reported in Cape Town in the past few days. 4 men were killed in Khayelitsha on Saturday after gunmen opened fire on a group of people at a house. 3 others were shot dead by unknown gunmen in Mfuleni this morning. Western Cape Community Safety MEC Reagen Allen is with us now on that story. MEC, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. Immediately you say what is lacking here is intelligence from the side of the police. I ask, do you not have the capacity within the province itself to be able to heighten your own intelligence capacity?
Thank you so much for bringing us into this particular difficult conversation. It is a conversation that we would not want to shy away from. The specific question would be answered in the following way, in that crime intelligence is a national competency. Provinces are not allowed in terms of legislation to collect its own intelligence. What we have advocated for here is for devolution of policing powers to a provincial level so that we can play a more meaningful role. But in the current climate where we have oversight in terms of the Constitution, I would always want our oversight to lead to better service delivery. And the 2 mass murders speak to criminals becoming so emboldened, becoming so brazen by brutally killing multiple people at one particular go. And I have some information that is rather shocking, but I sincerely trust that it will paint the background picture to it. Since 2020, up until last year, we have seen 94 incidents of mass murders. That is where 3 or more people have been killed. That led to 334 victims. And the circumstances, the motives in that regard sketches the following picture. It sketches that 27% is based on revenge or on retaliation. 19% of those murders were gang-related. 13% were taxi violence, but also 12% was categorized as other, and that includes extortion, but also vigilantism. What we have seen since that period, there has only been one conviction, even though there has been 79 arrests that have been made. So definitely it's twofold. On the one hand, we would want the South African Police Service to be led by crime intelligence so that we can actually fulfill the mandate of preventing crime before it occurs. But also, we need to ensure that the conviction rate is severely ramped up, because that one particular person that was convicted in December last year, he received 3 life sentences. And those sentences is a clear deterrent to would-be criminals, but also it keeps these perpetrators, these hideous criminals, actually behind bars. So it's definitely twofold.
So, I mean, your counterpart in Gauteng, MEC Faith Mazibuko, would tell you that they work very well with the SAPS crime intelligence. They foil a number of crimes here in this particular province. Is this a failure between yourself, maybe as the MEC, to work with the SAPS?
I think the record will now reflect that the national minister has indicated that since my appointment, and I want to speak frankly, this is his words, where he have indicated the relationship has never been as good as it is now. I've been very clear that the Premier gave me a clear mandate that I need to ensure that we foster valuable relationships with all stakeholders, including the South African Police Service, and I work very closely with him. When the MEC in Gauteng says that they are working closely and very good, and crime intelligence is up in the Gauteng area, the data and the stats doesn't actually correlate to what she's saying. When we consider that Gauteng, Eastern Cape and KZN has all, since 2019 up until now, seen increases in the murder rate, whereas our province is the only province which actually saw a reduction in the murder rate since 2019.
So, have you not received any crime intelligence report, I suppose, in the recent past that could possibly have given you alerts about what is happening in these areas where we have seen these attacks?
When it comes to the mass murders, we are not seeing to a satisfactory level. We have crime intelligence in our province, but like I've consistently advocated for, in that our officers, our men and women in blue, that is working tirelessly, are probably 20 years behind in terms of the actual resources that we require. That is manpower, that is visibility, but also the various units, including crime intelligence. When we talk about crime intelligence, we also need to ensure that there is early warning systems. Our province, for example, contribute to over 85% of all gang-related murders in the entire country. I want to repeat that again. The Western Cape contributes to over 85% of all gang-related murders. In order to have early warnings in terms of retaliations, when parolees are placed back into a community and potentially creating havoc and volatility in that community, we would want crime intelligence to wrap up so that I don't need to sit here and say that over a period of 1 year, we are seeing over 4,000 people being murdered. And many of those could, in my estimation, in the province's estimation, could have been prevented should crime intelligence be properly ramped up.
So what resources are now being deployed, particularly to deal with these two cases that we've seen over the weekend?
As soon as there is a high priority murder or a mass murder in this case, we activate a 72-hour plan in order to ensure that all leads are followed up, that all persons of interest are followed up. That 72 hours is still ongoing up until tomorrow evening, considering that this happened on Sunday and on Saturday late evening. We are wanting to ensure, also a plea to communities that if they have any information, they should make that available to the South African Police Service. We have activated our reward system as well, that if any person calls 021466 0011, they are able to get a reward of up to 5,000 rand should that particular firearm that's in a particular area be confiscated and it leads to the arrest of a suspect. But we are always appealing that we are needing to fulfill the mandate. And I have so much respect for our officers that are working so tirelessly. The mandate of the South African Police Service, I would never want us to forget that, because it speaks directly to prevention. We are there to prevent crime, combat crime, and to investigate crime. And that's a tall order. Hence, the necessary resources must be allocated to the men and women in blue so that these criminals are not as brazen to open fire in any property where they kill 4 people or go on a rampage of killing others, and also where it leads actually to innocent bystanders being killed. I can also confirm, and this is what pains us in the province, that when we see gang-related murders between April and September, there was 404 gang-related murders, 78 was innocent persons that was killed, where the investigation concluded that particular victim was not linked to a gang. It's a stray bullet or a bystander that was hurt. A family, a community devastated. Hence, we are wanting to ensure that crime intelligence can actually tackle so that we can bring these gangs down and use the law in terms of the POCA Act, the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, so that these perpetrators can actually be behind bars where they belong. They do not genuinely belong in our communities.
Western Cape Community Safety, MEC Reagen Allen, much appreciated as always. Thanks so much for coming on this evening.